Hey guys, welcome back. It's Matt, the 3D noob, and today we're going to be doing the unboxing and basic setup of the PowerSpec Duplicator i3 Mini. I decided to pick this up at my local micro center. Thankfully, I have one of those. That's a really cool place to go if you're interested in 3D printing and want some pretty good filament, because I use mostly inland filament. I do have some other ones up here that are, some knockoff like Notepad and Sunlu and other various knockoffs that I got here and there for cheap or, to test out or whatnot. So with that being said, let's go ahead and open up the box. Trusty scissors here. Cut the two tabs if I can. There's two. Alright, let's get those up out of the way. Alright, let's go ahead and get my rusty knife. Always cut away from yourself. You don't want to be cutting towards yourself at all. Let's go ahead and open this box. Alright. So when we open it, we got some nice packing in it, actually. Looks like this is pretty much an assembly, an assembled setup. So it looks like there's almost no setup. So that's kudos. So let's go ahead and try and get this out in one piece. I know this is going to be very, very hard. So maybe we'll lift up the bag here and get the box up out of the way. There we go. All right. So in the bottom here, we do have some extra stuff. Let's throw that box off to the side. So on the bottom of the box, we do have a PowerSpec instruction manual. If you guys can see that, sorry. There we go. It does come with a extra PowerSpec build tech mat, I guess you could call. And looks like some probably PLA red filament. Usually you get this with most printers. Not red, but you get a small thing of filament so you can try and print test something, which usually you can't print test anything with it, or you end up printing, half of an item, even if it's something small. So anyway, very nice packaging so far. I'm digging it. Really, really nicely packaged. I like this foam. Very, very secure. So at the top here, or on the side actually, we do have a little box. I'm guessing these are parts and power. Okay. So let's see what we got in here. We do have a SanDisk 1 GB card. That seems very small, but when it comes to 3D printing, you don't really need anything spectacular, to be honest. I'm guessing a filament spool holder, because this just looks like one, in my opinion. So we are going to grab a spool of filament from my stash here and see if maybe we can use it. Maybe we'll use like a blue or something. Maybe we'll use up that purple. And purple actually prints pretty nice. So there's that. We do have a hook of some sort. I'm not sure what that's used for. Power supply cable. We'll untie this really quick because we will be needing that. Your typical blue computer cable. This comes pretty much standard with pretty much every single printer I've gotten, so I have quite a few of those. Looks like your little baggie of tools, little piece of PTFE tubing. That's what this little clear piece is. Looks like 3 different size Allen keys and 2 black zip ties. So, and then it also comes with a pretty nice scraper. That's a pretty thin scraper, actually. That's actually pretty nice, and it's semi-dull, so it's not like it's not going to cut you or anything. Let's see what else this is. Gauge for Z-axis and nozzle. Really? Well, that's kind of nifty. So on this, it has a, I mean, it basically states it on here. It says gauge for Z-axis and nozzle. After installing the printer, turn the Z-axis couples lead screws by hand to lower the Z-axis compound to the same height. The Z-axis motor plane surface can be taken as base level. Both Z-axis compound need to have same height. Okay. After homing, turn off the printer, move the extruder to different positions, and insert the gauge to ensure the nozzle has the same distance to the platform. So basically what this is this is for when you go to level it both ways. So when you level your bed and then when you level your gantry, basically. So I don't think we'll have too much problems with the Z, but that's there just to make sure. So that's kind of nice. And then one last thing that it comes with is, looks like a little threaded needle. Looks like a little acupuncture needle. And that's basically, I believe, to remove clogs if you have it. Most printers come with those of some sort. So that's kind of nice that they have that. Let's take this piece off. All right, nothing there. Oh, and we've set it up right. That's awesome. Let's try and get that out of there. All right, let's move this stuff out of the way. So, like I said, pretty small printer, but it is very nice. Where do I have those scissors? So you have two large zip ties that are holding the bed in place and the Z-axis. So we're going to go ahead and clip those off. Pretty hard to get those off. So thankfully I have a heavy-duty pair of scissors. Otherwise we'd probably have a little bit of issue. But if you have snips or something, which I'm surprised these didn't come with snips. Alright, let's take this off. Alright, so if you need to, this is a nice little baggie if you need it for packing or anything. Probably don't, but you know, we'll try it out. So this is a pretty nice, very, very hefty unit. It's got some nice bed levelers on it. The build plate is very, very nice. It's cut on the corners, so you can actually get at the screws if you need to. But what's nice about this is actually like bed leveling. So let me turn this around so you guys can see it. We have a nice little LCD screen. I like the whole black profile. I'm a black style printer type of guy, so everything I print is in black. But very nice. We got a nice screen right here, a nice knob, very, very nice knob. And then just to the right of the screen right here is a little SD card insertion. So that's kind of nice that it has it right in front there. Looks very, very nice though. We have some nice cabling right here. It looks like this might be high fiber, maybe. Something that's like heat resistant. So I do know that from using these type of, this is what's called an extruder on top. That's basically what feeds the filament to the printer head. There is that little piece of PTFE tubing that is included. We're going to take that out and we're going to put it on the extruder on the outside. So I'll try and show you guys exactly what I'm doing here. So on the top here, there's this spring-loaded extruder. So you see the hose is like a clear frosted, actually, PTFE tubing. So on the opposite side, we're going to try and lead this in. I believe this is what this is for. And we're going to stick that PTFE tubing in there as hard as we can. You're probably going to hurt your finger. Just giving you a heads up. But we're going to insert that as best as we can. And what that'll do is that gives you a little bit of a filament guide inside of the extruder. So that way, when you have an issue with it, because sometimes people have an issue with loading the filament on it, and it's more or less like you got to cut it on an angle or whatnot. This, you don't have to do that. You just slide it in as long as it's a fresh cut. Because you don't want to pull something out of a nozzle and then have like little string at the end of your filament, because that's obviously not going to load very well, and you could possibly jam the hot end if you do that. So you don't want to be doing that at all. So let's go ahead and get this all plugged in. In fact, I do have a cable plugged in already, so I did. Let's go ahead and plug this in really quick. All right. Now, before we plug it in, let's insert the SD card and see what the stock code is. So we're going to go ahead and insert this. Okay, that's an easy insert. And it looks like this filament spool holder is going to click in here somewhere, I would guess. Let's go ahead and look at the instruction manual really quick. So, product assembly, initial setup. Okay. Just basically go through this and set it all up. Let's see what this is. Manually leveling the bed. Okay, that's at least one thing. That's probably the hardest thing to do is how to level your bed correctly. A lot of people use a bubble level, and you should never ever do that. It's a piece of paper, or in this case, this little guide that they gave us, and basically your eye. You really want to start printing something and level it while it's printing. That's probably your best way to level a bed, because when it's printing, you can see how the layer is actually going down. So let's go ahead and put this little filament holder on here. This is how it's going to go in. So so you basically slide in that nut into that little hole there, and you turn this until it locks tight. It's kind of nice. So, and like for me, okay, so the filament holder basically went like this. So this top rung, let me see if I can back this off a little bit. This top rung that you see here has to be facing up. So it basically has to be flush. So when I do that, as you can see, it faces this way, forward, towards the camera. So we're going to try and tighten that by hand if we can. You don't want to tighten it too much because you're going to break the threads. What's nice about this is there's a way to get in between each side here. So if you need to maneuver it or re-maneuver it, you can. Let's go ahead and open up our test filament and see if we could even test anything with this. Like I said, usually when it comes to something of printing caliber, you usually cannot test anything with this spool of filament. There's usually just enough to do maybe like half of it. So let's go ahead and we're going to put this into this PTFE tube. And what we're going to do is we're going to unclasp this and we're going to hand feed it all the way down until we feel it stop. Alright, so now it's stopped. We can let go of it and let it go. Now we can go ahead and plug it in and we'll go from there. And voila, we are online already. So let's see if I can try and get this. Fortunately, I don't have different camera angles, so let's see what it says here. Alright, so our progress, 3D printer ready, elapsed time. Okay, let's go and level the bed. So this is kind of nice. The G-Tech E180 had the same thing. Basically, it has 5 points. This one might have 4 points only. But the G-Tech had 5 points. So what it'll do is it'll go from one corner to another corner to another corner to another corner. And you basically use this little piece of paper to try and level it. So what you're going to do is you're going to try and stick this underneath the nozzle, and you're going to raise your bed as much as you can. Alright, so now to just basically, you're going to gauge your first level. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to have this piece of paper, and you're going to, I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. There's basically a little bit of like snag. So basically you want to crush the paper but not rip the piece of paper. And you can do this with a regular piece of paper too. So we're going to have it a little bit snug, not too snug though. Alright, so now we're going to, okay, the level wizard will guide you through leveling the bed. Okay, so we're going to go and hit next. And it says level the corner, go to the next corner. Okay, so let's go ahead and level this. Now you're going to want to do this a couple times just to gauge that you are doing it correctly. And the reason why you want to do it a couple times is because let's say you level the two fronts here and then you level the two back ones, you know, that can throw it off. And you really don't want that. Alright, so we're grasping a little bit. It kind of feels funny. It kind of feels like sandpaper. Like if you ever filed your nail, that's what it feels like traveling through that piece of paper. That's about what you want it at. You can go a little bit less, but let's go ahead and go to the next corner. Okay. So now, like I said, now I move that corner. Now this corner is too hard. I can't move this piece of paper. So now what we're going to do is we're going to level it again. We're going to bring it back. All right. So now it's going to bring up the back. All right. So this is probably the hardest, but yet most important thing to do with the 3D print. All right. Back level. All right. So now we're going to go and we're going to click on Redo Leveling Wizard. Okay. And we're going to do it again. Because, like I said, now this corner is tight. So we want to back it off a little bit. Because we want it tight, but we don't want it like where we're ripping the paper almost. We don't want that. Now let's go to the next corner. Yeah, too tight. Just about right. So we'll level again while we're printing because we want to make sure that this is good. Alright, so now we're back to our main menu. And we're going to go and scroll down to Print File. And it says 3D Benchy Power Spec. So let's go ahead and look at that and see where it's printing. So it's going to heat it up to 210. And this does not have a heated build plate, so we don't have to worry about that. So basically the only product that we can use on this is PLA. And the reason being is because it doesn't have a heated build plate. In order for ABS to work, you definitely need a heated build plate, and you definitely need some higher temperatures, which this might not be able to reach. Another thing is that it would not be working with any other type of filament like wood or TPU, which is basically like flexible. That's what like a stress ball would be made out of. So things like that, it would not work very well. So, so unfortunately, this printer is only for PLA, which to most people that's perfectly fine because, well, PLA is probably the most versatile and easiest to work with when making 3D printed objects. So obviously, if you're going to be needing stuff that's out in the elements, you know, cold and hot and rain and snow, you're going to want to print something in ABS. So this, obviously, this unit is not for you. So we're just going to wait here in a little bit. Like I said, we're going to be kind of doing this uncut because I want you guys to know, like, this is how long it takes to heat up. So we basically, all beds that I've seen usually are around 23 to 26 degrees Celsius on average, non-heated, and that's the same for this. This is probably actually even a little cooler, but again, this doesn't have a heated build plate, so that doesn't really matter in this case. But heat up times do vary depending on your printer. I've learned that if you have an AC bed, you could probably get your bed up real quick in half the time of a DC bed that's like this GTAC or the Ender 3 behind me, where it's inside of the power supply. Those take a little while to get up there. I usually have my profile. Excuse me. I have my profile on the Ender 3 set to 70 degrees for the bed, just because I want that nice adhesion, and it's okay for a little while because I'm usually not around to keep an eye on it, so I don't really worry about heat up times. But if I need to, it takes maybe about 10 minutes to heat up to that. So right now it's overshooting its temperature, which is normal for most new systems, and now it looks like it's purging the block. And obviously something doesn't seem right here because we're about this far away from the bed, from the nozzle. So, alright. So it's basically, it does a purge before it does anything. So it looks like we're laying pretty good. It is quite fast, which I will probably tune the printer a little bit to slow it down. But we can slow down the speed right away just by turning the knob. And there's a little percentage sign that says 100% on there. And you can start turning that down, and that will slow down the feed rate of the printer. So that way, like right now, this printer was printing at 100%. And really, the settings on it were probably set like through the slicer, which is like Cura and Simplified 3D. Those were probably set pretty high. I don't really know what they would be set at, but it looks like it was like stock. So usually I have mine set at like 30, I believe, and that's a pretty good slow start. It does take the print to an exponential rate to finish, but it comes out really, really well. So, and this is actually pretty not too bad. It is a little spotty here and there. So what that's telling me is you can basically look at the print and see, okay, even though we leveled the bed, there might be some fine tuning that we might have to do. So that first layer is really important to keep an eye on, like what we're doing right now. And what you'll do is you'll just kind of turn the knob 1 or 2 clicks, you know, whatever you think you need to, and that way you can snug it up against the nozzle. But you don't want to snug it up too much because then this will start clogging, and then you're going to have that clicking sound that everybody has a problem with. You'll hear this little knob, this brass knob, and you'll hear click, click, click. And what that basically means is that the printer nozzle is too close to the bed. So, and that's basically going to keep on doing it for as long as you readjust the bed. So it looks like we're printing okay. And it looks like it might actually take this entire spool of filament and do this benchy. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but it would be amazing because as far as I know, when it comes with a benchy, usually it's something ridiculous just to show it off, and it usually does not have the ability to use a full spool, well, I mean full spool, like these little tiny spools of filament. So, and I don't suggest getting these. I suggest getting like an actual spool of filament, like you can see on my desk here, those spools of filament. And like I said, I use inland specifically, but I do have some random stuff, and that's why most of those are, you know, half spools or quarter spools, because I'm just trying to run through them and get some consistency over here. And in fact, I might even be switching up to a new provider, which is in Wisconsin, and one of the main reasons why is they have 15-pound spool filaments. So I can just buy that and call it a day. So I don't have to worry about that. But we'll save that for another review and another setup. So as some of you guys probably have noticed, I did not use this for the Z-axis because I personally don't think that you need to level your Z-axis. It should be pretty good out of the factory. If it's not, then their quality control is not the greatest. Creality is notorious for this, which is why I've had such a pain getting that printer to work, because it's been one problem solved, another one pops up, then that problem, and so on and so forth. But thankfully, with the help of some TH3D products, it has been printing fantastic. So I thank that very well, and we will be doing a TH3D upgrade on this as well. we will be flashing the software for it, as well as adding an easy ABL kit from TA's 3D Studios, just to give it that little better edge over any other printer I have, because I have seen this thing in action with an easy ABL, and it just absolutely blew me away. So it looks like we're doing pretty good here. Now, if you ever have problems with it lifting off the bed or edges curling up on you, which can happen from time to time, you can use some adhesion products. There is like stick glue, I believe the purple stuff, which Elmer's carries. You can use that. There is hairspray. I've been told Aqua Net is probably the best. You can find that at the dollar store, from what I was told. I personally have not used Aqua Net. I used like my nicer hairspray, and that seems to work. So I'm pretty sure any type of hairspray will work, as long as it's got a like a mega hold feature, or it's one of the nicer ones. It's not like just the base type of hairspray. And then another one is Magicoo, which I just recently tried to use, and it was okay. It's definitely like a mixture between hairspray and glue, but the application on it is a little strange for me. So I think maybe printing a 3D applicator or something like that, or just buying an applicator, basically a type of little scraper that has like indentations on it, so you can smooth it out properly, because it tells you to use the package, and it works to an extent. So, and again, whenever you use that, you always want to, if you have a heated bed and you want to use that, you want to spray it on a cool bed and then raise the temperature up, and it will literally like stick to the bed. Now, my personal preference for when I have my glass sheet on, I would use hairspray, because the problem that I have with stick glue is that it clumps, and clumps can destroy a print if you're not careful enough. And I tend to be a little too liberal with the coverage of it. Sorry, drawing a blank. It's late here. It's almost 3 o'clock. So my apologies for being a little absent-minded here. But we'll try and get this print out here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop this, and I'll just let this print and let it set up, and then I'll come back. Like I said, I know I hate cutting film out, but this can probably take up to an hour, hour and a half at the very least. So right now we're at 3%, and we've only gotten 2 layers down, and I can see that it looks like it's coming up already. So we're already having adhesion issues. So that tells me one of two things. Either it's not close enough to the bed, or the bed's too cool and it's not adhering to the bed good enough. So, yep, and we just lost the print. So it's kind of good, actually. I didn't stop the video, because this is exactly what can happen. As you can see, that little red thing sliding around there, that is our print that has lifted off the bed and is now a piece of nothing. So we're going to go ahead and stop this print. And let's see if we can put settings. We're going to go ahead and move our Z. Now the Z is the up and down. And we're going to go ahead and just lift this up. So there we have it. As I can tell here, so it looks like we're a little too far from the bed. And you can kind of tell that by there's some spaces in here. Unfortunately, I can't really bring this up to the camera because the camera's probably going to go out of focus. But I can maybe snap some pictures and import it into the video if I can. But it's probably because of my fault, because it's been a while since I've actually had to level a bed by hand. But I can tell you right now that it's kind of stringy. It's not entirely looped together. And it basically tells you on this little card that you get with it, like, these are the 3 types of variations, and only one of these 3 types is good. So it's actually very, very nice and handy to have. And so, you know, if you really want that, this is a nice thing to have. And you can probably find this online. I know I've seen it around a gazillion times. Yeah, maybe we'll just stop the video there and just kind of do an initial impression. And maybe I'll come back and try and do an actual print with it and see if we can get this thing up and running. Maybe I'll try and use some adhesion and make a video of adhesion and what it can do, how it can help. In this case, it's kind of hard to determine because these build plates are not heated, so it's kind of hard to go off of what's going to happen with that. So with that being said, you know, we'll see how it goes. But as of right now, it was an okay print from the get-go. It just wasn't close enough. We're a little bit too far. Even though, like I said, we leveled it twice, you still need to keep an eye on it, and I wasn't keeping a close enough eye on it. And I think it was more or less because the print was a little small that I couldn't determine how good it was being close to the bed. But hopefully that gives you guys a little insight of why I'm making this channel and why I'm here, because I don't know everything. Prints fail. It's going to happen. I thought I was the only one. I thought, you know, I was having issues here and there. And I joined the 3D printing groups on Facebook, and it's like, oh my God, I'm not alone. Everybody else has these issues. These people who print amazing, amazing prints, like helmets and big detailed cities and whatnot, they do have failed prints from time to time. So don't be discouraged if you come up with a failed print. It's going to happen. I would have to say it probably will happen to you 1 out of 10 prints. And that's pretty good. If it happens less than that, you got your stuff dialed in. You pretty much know what you're doing with that printer. You know it through and through. Again, this is a brand new printer. I'm used to auto bed leveling where I don't have to do this anymore. And again, we will be adding auto bed leveling to this, but not at this point in time. I got to print a mount for it and get it flashed with custom firmware in order for that to work. Because otherwise, if we just add a sensor, it's not going to do anything. So with that being said, I thank you guys for sticking around. And again, if you got any questions, comments, concern about the power spec, this is by Wanhao, the Duplicator i3 Mini. Go ahead and put them in the comments below, and I will try and answer them as best as I can. And hopefully I can get you guys on the right path. So again, if you like what I'm doing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification icon, and that way you can know when I'm making new content. Until next time, this is 3D Noob. See you then.